Hey folks, how are you doing? I am looking at Uwe Rosenberg's games. I actually found this tier list on tier list or tiermaker.com, and somebody already created this. So this might not have all of Uwe Rosenberg's games, but why not do a tier list? So we're going to let's kind of look first at some of his games that he's created before. We'll go to, all right, in 1997, he first created Bonanza. And then most recently, in 2020, he made New York Zoo. So there's a lot of games on here that are not listed in the tier list, but that's okay. I think he highlighted some of the more notable ones. So anyways, we can get started with the tier list. So first off, we'll look at Feast for Odin. So Feast for Odin, I would say it's got the cool things of patchwork right here with the tile placement and trying. They call it polyomino, making things link up and score points with them. And then it also has the occupations that Agricola has, which I really like. That kind of shapes your strategy. And anything else great it has? Oh, it has more worker placement actions than any other board game to date. So I think with that, Feast for Odin is a must buy. Like, that's got to be in the must buy category. It's one of my favorite games. So, of course, it's going to go there, which won't be said about all of his games. I am not a Uwe Rosenberg fanatic at all. But Feast for Odin, definitely a must buy. You gotta do it. You just gotta do it. Next up, we have Agricola, All Creatures Great and Small. That is the two-player version of Agricola. Focuses more on the animals, and I know you can do some cool things with where you place the workers. And I like that in Agricola and Caverna, and this version of Agricola, the two-player version, you have things accumulate and grow on a board. It takes some upkeep. I like that Feast for Odin doesn't have that, but it's cool that Agricola has this something's collecting and growing on something, whereas some games don't have that. Feast for Odin has a track of I guess wood comes out, and then you can take the wood. And as you take things, it's a game of chicken for things to become more and more valuable. But in the opposite happens in Agricola, where things become more and more valuable as you don't take them, rather than you take them and then the next time somebody takes something from there, it becomes better, as in Feast for Odin. I'll stop talking about Feast for Odin so much and comparing it to all these other games because that's an unfair comparison. But I think I'm going to put that in either the buy or the play. I really liked my plays with that I've played with my wife. I own the game, and it's all right. Then the next one, we're going to do the family. I don't think I've played that version, no. But normal Agricola I have played, and I really like the occupation cards in it. But I think the simplicity and quickness of the two-player version beats it out. And I don't like anything in a board game that is kind of like a heavy metagame, like you always have to do this. And I'm pretty picky with that, I recognize, because sometimes I like that in some games, like Feast for Odin, like you always have to feed your people. Obviously, that's not what I'm talking about, but there's certain things, like I think in Agricola there's like you gotta grab this like campfire or a building to buy to be able to feed your people better. You can turn food into or your animals into food better if you buy this thing. And so it's just becomes this meta game that you got to buy these items. But I do like the occupation cards in Agricola, so it's definitely not all negative. And I do like the collecting of the things on the worker placement spots. I like the wish for children. It's kind of cool, as like children are your workers. So Agricola is going to be in the play category. Next up, we have Loyang. Loyang has the coolest drafting system of any game. I'm going to put it in the must buy just for that. But the way it works is you are going to you have your hand of cards and you play a card down on the table, and anybody can, so you either play a card down on the table, or you take one of your cards in your hand and one of the cards on the table, and then the rest of the cards that were in your hand, you place them on the table. You say, I'm done drafting. These 2 cards are what I'm keeping. But if you draw 2 great cards that you want to get that are really good combos together, then you might think, okay, how am I going to get that? Well, I'm going to put one of those 2 cards down, maybe the weaker of the two, down on the board. Hope that nobody takes it from me, and then when it gets back to my turn, then I'm going to take both of those cards, and then we'll be set. But what will end up happening is somebody might take your card. If you are the last person in the round, you can't keep discarding cards until you're ready, and then take 2 cards. If you're the last person in the round, then you do have to, at that point, take 1 card that's in your hand. And so if you held on to 2 powerful cards, you're not gonna get them. So that's really cool about Loyang. Another thing is, in Loyang, you can take, like, if you have a pumpkin, then you have a field that has like 6 squares in it. Pumpkins can go in 6, 5, or 4 fields, I think. So you can just take that pumpkin, and instead of using it to fill an order and get points, you can take that pumpkin, not get points for that round using the pumpkin, but you can place the pumpkin in the, I guess, in the field. I guess you're taking out the seeds from the pumpkin, so that pumpkin's dead, but you can take the seeds and scatter them in the field. And you do this with all the vegetables. 6 different vegetables, and each of them have different rarities. But the more rare ones can only be built in a 4 field. The second rarest can only be built in a 5 or a 4 field. You put it in one of those sections, and then it grows more pumpkins or more vegetables to fill in the rest of the field. And then every turn thereafter, at the start of each turn, you take 1 from the field. So 1 pumpkin, you sacrifice that, but it's okay because you're going to get 6 pumpkins out of it over time. It's like a cool little investment. I wish that more games did that. So just those 2 things, the coolest drafting that any game has ever had, Loyang, and also the upkeep, the sacrificing of, I could use this vegetable to fulfill an order for points, or I could just put it out there and invest it for future crops. That's the law of the farm right there. I love that about Loyang, so that's going to be a must buy as well. You gotta try it, people. Next up, we have Bonanza. I haven't played Bonanza the Duel, Bargain Hunter, or Babel. Sorry, I haven't played a lot of his games, but so Bonanza, here we go. I do like that actually a lot. I'm gonna put it in the buy category. Sometimes I feel like the game plays you a little bit, but because you can't rearrange the cards in your hand, they're just set as they are, and you can only do things with the cards in the front. But you're moving the, as the cards move through your hand, the back to the front of the hand, then they start becoming more useful. However, that mechanism encourages you to trade beans, because you can trade from anywhere in your hand, and you can trade beans with other people, which will help them out and help you out, because then you can somewhat rearrange your cards and get some cards that are the same type next together. So, but then you end up with everybody trading. So I don't know if that game like has an issue with that, but I enjoy that kind of. I don't know if that mechanism is in a whole lot of games where you can't rearrange your hand, but it's kind of cool. Like, you hand out the cards to everybody and you say, "All right, nobody rearrange your hand. Like, how it is how it's got to stay," and strategize from there. It gives you a smaller decision space to work with, so it limits your strategies for sure. But I would say it's a buy. Then we have, or how this tier list has must buy, play. I would have done S, A, B, C, D tier, but whatever. All right, Caverna, Cave vs. Cave. I played the 2-player version of Caverna, and I didn't really like it that much, honestly. And then, but like, I felt like it was just so, it had all the things that I didn't like about Caverna. Plus, it was um like shorter and not as I felt like I couldn't develop a strategy with it. Caverna, I feel like you can really develop a cool strategy with. Um, and I do like it with a lot of players, but I don't really love it. And there's a problem that I have with the game is that there's no variable setup. Agricola, you have some variable setup. You start with some occupation cards, and you're going to be different from everybody else. Caverna, I don't believe you have that. Like, there's no like occupation cards or anything like that. So, and it's not a variable setup of how the new things come out. Like, it's just set like that always. I didn't like that about Caverna. I'd rather a variable setup in my games. That's going to be a dodge as well, and it's sad because I really enjoy the theme of Caverna much better than Agricola's theme of farming. Farming's fine, but you got to have really great mechanics for it to become like Loyang and like the Chinese farming, cool, whatever. But oh my gosh, great theme is going to be dwarves and using those to the dwarves to go out and fight. I did enjoy that you could level up your workers and have them go out and fight. So different levels of workers was pretty cool, though. They're definitely different games for sure, but the comparisons are huge between Agricola and Caverna. Of all the games here, it's going to be huge comparison between those two, and I think Agricola holds out better, ultimately because of that variable setup and those occupation cards. So then we next have Cottage Garden. Um, that one, it's pretty similar to Indian Summer, I think. That one's a play. It's pretty good. Fields of Arle, I felt like that one was similar to Agricola and Caverna a little bit. Um, I ended up doing like a sheep strategy when I played that one and having sheep mate with each other and growing more sheep, which I know you can do in a lot of his games, which is pretty cool. I want one of his games to come out where you do the Loyang, uh, like sacrificing a vegetable to create one vegetable each turn for the next 6 turns, with the hey, I have 2 sheep and they mate and make more sheep, and build off of how you want to do the strategies with those. Because I think that would be pretty cool. So, but Fields of Arle, it's kind of forgettable. I would say that's a dodge. Probably get Agricola. Next, but yeah, it's gonna be better than Caverna. So maybe I can put it like that, and maybe even Caverna a little better than Cave vs. Cave. Right, I'm just rearranging things here. Next up, I think I might even like Loyang better than Feast for Odin. They're close. They're really close. Next up, I haven't really played a lot of his other ones, unfortunately. Then we have Indian Summer. That's about the same as Cottage Garden. I think I liked it slightly better than Cottage Garden, though. It's just polyomino, placing out things. When you cover up something, you can get something out of it. Next up, we have Le Havre and Le Havre 2-player. Actually, haven't played those, but I think it's cool that he's got, for some of his big title games, Agricola, Caverna, and Le Havre are definitely his 3 big title games. He has a 2-player variant for those. Next up, we have Mamma Mia. That's a very different type of game. There's a memory element, and you're playing out different different ingredients for pizzas, and then somebody at any point can just say, "Hey, I'm going to create the pizza now," and they go through and check what is out there for the pizza, and if they can't get the pizza, they missed it. But that's ultimately a memory thing. If that sounds fun to you, get it. But I think it's just all right. I'm not a big fan of memory elements in games, but if I had to play a memory element game, I'd actually say Uwe Rosenberg did a good job with this one, and Mamma Mia would be my memory element game. And unfortunately, guys, I haven't really played any of his other ones on here except for Patchwork. So we're going to end it on Patchwork. And in Patchwork, it's only 2-player, and you're going to be doing the things in Feast for Odin where you're going to be filling in your box. You have like I think a 9x9 grid, and the first person to get a 7x7 square gets a bonus, I think 7 points or something. But then it's really cool because there's a time element to the game. I love games that it's not like my turn, your turn, my turn, your turn. This game, each piece you take increases your time on the board, and you have a time track that you go up. So one piece that's really big could take 6 hourglasses. Then somebody else now is 6 hourglasses behind you because you've moved up 6 forward, whatever. Now they could take a 3 hourglass piece and then another 3 hourglass piece before you can have another turn. And I thought that was really cool in that game. Just really awesome. I think that'd be great if he combined all those great things that he has in his games and put those forward in another game. The patchwork, definitely the time thing is great. The loyang drafting and the loyang how the vegetables work, and there was no animals being born, so put that in the game. That would be awesome. So I'm going to put that in a must-buy. Patchwork, and that pretty much sums it up for all of his games. Like I said, this would have been an S tier. The buy would have been an A tier. The Agricola, that would have been a B tier, C tier. And I really don't think any of his games are terrible. Like I wouldn't put any in a D tier. So all in all, that is my tier list for all of Uwe Rosenberg's games that I've played. Not very many of them, unfortunately, but hopefully you got a gist of what his games are some kind of about. You got a lot of feed your people mechanisms. Let's see, which ones do you have to feed your people in? Agricola, Caverna, you have to feed your people in. Fields of Arl, you have to feed your people, I believe. Animals mating and having babies. Fields of Arl, Caverna, Agricola. Plants growing, only Loyang. Placing tiles down, Feast for Odin, and Patchwork. Memory elements, only Mamma Mia. Also Polyomino, Patchwork, Indian Summer, and Cottage Garden. Anyways, all in all, he's a great designer, obviously. He's very successful. And if that rings true to you, maybe check out his games. If you're pretty familiar with this guy up here and you think his games are amazing, let me know in the comments below some of them that I missed. I want to try Le Havre. I've heard it's pretty great. I want to try some of these other versions of it. Is this a patchwork roll and write or a patchwork drawing or writing game? Like I think that would be pretty cool to do a flip and write, roll and write, whatever for patchwork. Let me know in the comments below what you think are some of his best games. Anyways, thanks so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.